Well, welcome to this week's edition of Bolton In. All thanks to the team at Palmerbet, and we are smack bang right in the middle of spring. And what a spring racing carnival it's been thus far, heading into a Cox Plate weekend this weekend. As I say, very good evening to Adam McGrath. Ads, how are you, buddy?
Matty, going well. Saw Sweet Caroline being sung last weekend. Looking forward to some voices belting out some tunes this weekend for the Cox Plate, one of my favourite races of the year, and certainly some good horses and different form lines coming into it. So looking forward to diving in, both of you boys.
And to be honest, Daryl Braithwaite's actually playing down in my neck of the woods tomorrow night, boys. He's playing down here, so he'll be belting out horses at Flagstaff Hill in the Bull. Shane, as I say, a very good evening to you. How are you, mate?
Matty, Adam, good to be with you both, and hopefully Daryl stays down there and you can keep him contained, and he doesn't escape back to the valley, causing problems. I still chuckle when I think of the old days where he was belting out horses, and CEO Michael Brow was chasing him down, throwing race books to get him to stop as the field was coming up for the Cox Plate. I think it was So You Think's second Cox Plate. But yeah, to the points you raised, great racing coming up. Looking forward to the Cox Plate. Smallish field, good solid speed to be set by Pride of Jenny, and whether or not they can all finish over the top of it's going to be a good discussion point. But yeah, revamped Cox Plate Carnival with this year, not having the Manikato as the green trump before, and now is the feature. Some depth to some of the races at the Valley, but also a really good card up at Randwick too with the Spring Champion Stakes.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic weekend of racing. Let's go and recap last weekend, the Everest, Bella Nipotina. Ads, you're all over this, mate. What a wonderful horse she has been, mate. The last kind of couple of years, phenomenal trading performance too from Kieran Maher. That hour of power, as I called it last weekend, he wins at Everest and he wins a Caulfield Cup with Duke de Sessa. It was just unbelievable, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, as you said, full credit goes to Kieran Maher, but especially to this mare as well. And what you mentioned there, the last couple of years, I mean, she was an almost horse for a long time there. She was always running nice second, thirds, and fourths, and you just knew what you're going to get, but she couldn't quite get the chocolates in those big races. And hasn't she turned that around? She's been able to do it out at 1,400 metres. She's been doing it against the best horses. It doesn't matter whether it's in Sydney, Queensland, Victoria. She just keeps fronting up and fronting up. And I think she'll head over to Perth and compete in their Group 1 as well later in the year. So just such an honest type. And that's all I said last year when we did. I just said in a field where there was question marks around Giga Kick, question marks around some of these other horses, you just knew what she was going to do. She was going to front up. She was going to run that way, and they were going to have to beat her. And they weren't able to. And I thought it was a tremendous win and a well-deserved one as well. She's really starting to get that credit that she deserves.
Oh, geez, for about 100 metres, Shano, I thought Giga Kick had it in the bag, mate. I thought, here we go, get in the queue.
Yeah, he ran enormously well on the comeback trail. But yeah, I think the winner was just terrific. To Adam's point, I know you've both been a big fan of this mare over time. She's just so honest, so tough, so consistent. She really has evolved into just this high pressure sprinter who, to Adam's point, just keeps fronting up and running well wherever she races. She's unique. I haven't had the greatest run of success backing this mare over time. So from a punter's perspective, she's not one that I've always got right. But at the same time, from a race fan perspective, I enjoy watching her run. I thought Craig Williams gave her every conceivable hope, sort of had her in the right spot at the right time, was able to keep her going as Giga Hicks surged up on the inside, and they really battled out a terrific contest. But I'm glad she won because of what a fantastic mare she is, and she does get the accolades she richly deserves. You think about it, Matty, 7-year-old mare now? She's had 50 something odd starts. She just is so tough and so durable.
That horse sitting over my shoulder there in the boat, I reckon we might have knocked her off once or twice too. So it's amazing, isn't it? When you love to have a horse like Bella Nipotina, she's an absolute star. We fast forward about 45 minutes and Kieran Maher takes out the Caulfield Cup with Duke de Sessa. Great story, this too. Great ride, Harry Coffey. We all know Harry very well. He's an absolute champion on and off the track. He's a ripping young fella. And I also like the side story of this, Colin McKenna, who's not in the best of health at the moment. And he had a friend of his who he gifted a share in Jamaica years ago. And about 5 or 6 weeks ago, this same gentleman actually gifted him a share in Duke de Sessa heading into the Caulfield Cup. So I know that Colin was absolutely chuffed on the weekend. So thoughts are obviously with Colin and the entire McKenna family, who's been great for racing. And well done to Kieran Maher again. As I said, what a great trading performance, Shane.
Yeah, it really was. I second what you've just said there, and we wish Cole McKenna all the best. And I think this was one of the best stories I've seen in racing for quite some time. We've all, in our roles in the media, got to know he really was one of the most inspirational people I think you would come across. He's a fantastic jockey aside, and it's just terrific that he's been able to get the opportunities that his talent richly deserves over the last few years. And Kieran Maher sticking solid with him. You know, Duke de Sessa is a horse that has had his quirks. He's continually in Australia. He had some good form in Europe before coming down. But the way Harry rode him in the Caulfield Cup was just magnificent. Bang on speed in a race that wasn't really strongly run, but he controlled the affairs, I thought, really quite well from where he was, and then really started to ramp things up from about, 600 metres from home. There, Duke de Sessa was a guy, was heavily committed to the runner-up Buckaroo, so I was willing him home. But when I realised he couldn't get there, almost like what I said with Bella Nipotina earlier, you then go to the story, the angle about it. And Duke de Sessa was, I think, just one of the most enjoyable core to watch for the reasons that we've touched on. But Buckaroo, he's gone phenomenally well. Probably just missed the boat slightly, but yeah, he's flying this campaign. His run to finish runner-up was terrific, and it was a massive gap to the rest of them. That was the story of the race. An outstanding performance by the winner, really great story all around Duke de Sessa.
Hey, Ads, are we following anyone out of that Caulfield Cup heading towards obviously a Melbourne Cup path, do you think?
Well, look, the thing I found more interesting, and I'll put my hand up straight away, was that I knocked the Metrop form and they've run third and fourth. So that was something that I'd go back sort of look at that race to get the horses that were behind it, because for mine, I was pretty quick to just put that race aside and think those horses weren't going to play a huge part in this race. So that was probably the biggest thing I've taken from it, changing those two when looking forward now as well, and also that race as a whole. But outside of that, I think everything sort of went as expected. There wasn't anything that really jumped off the page for mine as that just changed my mind a little bit forward.
Hey, let's have a look at and talk about the King Charles Stakes now. We know there was so much talk about before the race. We've heard since after the race. You know, there was a lot of discussion about the horse taking on Pride of Jetty. We know what Pride of Jetty does. You can't blame horses and jockeys and trainers for wanting to take the horse on. But I tell you what, I think this horse snuck under the radar, CO Wolf. Its form has been rock solid, and it's been winning really commandingly, I reckon, really strongly, and on the weekend did exactly that, didn't it, Ad?
It's enough. I reckon maybe a bit longer to catch up with. Was really good, obviously, when winning the Epsom. Prior to that was very good behind Elias as well, who's a horse we've got a lot of time for. But as we mentioned, the speed in the race really set it up for the supers to be coming on. I was thinking my Oberon, my value figure there was going to get there at one stage, coming down the outside as well, but probably nothing, full admiration for that horse with what she was able to handle and the way she was still able to finish off. And CO Wolf, as you mentioned, was a very worthy winner, and a horse that has clearly shown that form, this preparation, and a bit like what we said with Bella Nipotina, just been very consistent.
Yeah, Shano?
Yeah, really compliment. So I'm a bit of this horse. Love the way he's going about his performances all the way through the spring. Great seeing Chad Schofield with another big race success. Been a fantastic jockey for a long time. He had a fair share of injuries, particularly as he was coming out of his outstanding apprenticeship. He was just building some momentum, getting Group 1 in his career, and then he had some injury challenges, went to Hong Kong, was able to come back, and he's now starting to get some amazing momentum. He's a fantastic jockey, and I loved seeing that win. Pride of Jenny, she's run well. Tony Tobro, the owner, again, with big, noisy comments in the media. I remember racing to early century with Dick Monahan, the owner, who used to love getting heard in the media for every issue going around. And I think we're seeing a little bit with Tony at the moment with that mare. Look, hopefully she gets through that tough run and runs well in the Cox Plate this week. I think she will. But I thought the right horse Yes, that's on of Jenny. That's what she does, And I like the fact that there was some tactics to test her even more in the race, keeping her wide early and working across the field. But yeah, she was struggling that last 100 meters, but she didn't give up. Like that looked like they were all going to finish right over the top of her. It was only Seal Wolf that did it. Gone bravely, probably. But yeah, it was a compelling race to watch. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting this weekend's Cox Plate, isn't it? Let's talk about Far Too Easy, who was good in the Kosciuszko. And I must admit, boys, I was pretty keen. They were shopping $6.57 early on in the week and took the whole length of the straight to get past front page, but was good enough to get the job done.
Yeah, it really was. Good shout by you, Matty. Yeah, it was a good performance. Another great ride by Craig Williams, who's really on song at the moment. Willow. Yeah, it was a good performance. That race again. The process of the Kosciuszko and seeing that sort of and that race on the day. It's a race I'm starting to like a little bit more. Now we're seeing it sort of bed down, but I thought the win of Far Too Easy was good. He's a horse I think over the next 12 months could make that sort of solid progression up to some other bigger races over time. I mean, he's really tough and an improving prospect every time we sort of see him step out. So I'm interested to see where he can land.
Yeah, Ads. I want to talk about the Silver Eagle, mate. A striker. Good victory, solid victory. Where to now, do you think?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do analyse because, as you mentioned, it was a very good win in the end. I thought, especially doing it from the wide barrier draw, getting into it and still being able to, pull away quite nicely with Blake Shin in the saddle, who's riding as good as anybody. Where they go next, intriguing. I think they've got plenty of options, beating horses like Komochi, who we've seen compete against the very good Group 1 horses, even V8, who had every possible chance. So they have a few of options moving forward now. I don't know what exact plan they'll go, but it was just more proof again of how well Annabelle Neesham and the Archibald stayed. And also Blake Shin, as I said, he's riding as well as anybody in the country, and he really showed that again here.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's a plethora of options moving forward for mine, and certainly a horse on the up too. That was a good victory last week in the Silver Eagle. Let's turn our attention to the Group 1s this weekend. We start with the Cox Plate. It's going to be a belter. Small field, as you said, off the top, Shane Open. It's a quality field. Over the 2,040 metres, 5:10 p.m. There'll be a huge crowd at Reedy Valley Saturday. And the Palmer Market prognosis is the favourite, $3.40. Via Sistina at $4.40. Of course, done 3 extra laps at breakfast with the best on Tuesday morning. Pride of Jenny on the back up at $5. Broadsiding, the up-and-coming star at $6. Mr. Brightside narrowly went down last year at $9. Docklands $18. Evaporate $20. Kovalika at $26 and Royal Patronage at $26. I'm going to start with you, Shano. It's a cracking race. The heat's going to be on. The pressure's going to be on. Which way and where are you heading in the Cox Plate for 2024?
Yeah, I'm going to the international prognosis. The horse really ticks a lot of boxes for me. Established strong form lines through Japan and also competing in Hong Kong around Romantic Warrior now for a couple of seasons. A really strong, mature 2,000-meter horse. The only quirk he has is that he's often quite slow out, which, particularly at the Valley, might cause a little concern in the early stages of the race because in particular, one of the races he took on Romantic Warrior in Hong Kong, he was really badly away. He missed the start, by about 4 or 5 lengths, made a sweeping mid-race move to put himself bang on speed, but covering ground. He was really solid late. The Romantic Warrior finished over the top of him, but he lost no admirers in finishing, just behind him. He's got so much class, a lot of just quality about him. But I would love to see him step away and he will be in the second half of the field, probably at the rear of the field over the concluding stages. But I just think with Damien Lane being patient, keeping him well balanced, getting him around the valley and asking him to come into the race from about that sort of 600-metre mark, I expect him to sort of produce that big sweeping run. With his momentum and the speed that he can finish a race off over this distance range, I'm excited by what he might be able to do at the Valley. I just look for him to be sweeping home over the top of them all, and I think he might run away with a big win. So I'm happy to be with Prognosis. I like him a lot. His price looks about right to my eye at the moment. And I'm expecting an outstanding performance by him because it will be truly run. I'm anticipating that. Again, I mentioned Tony Otobro, the owner of Pride of Jenny, suggesting the other day if they wanted to take her on, he might take a sit and so on. Pride of Jenny at her best with what we've seen over the last 12 to 18 months has been when she's bowling along out in front, and it would be folly to my eye to want to change that now in her biggest test of the Spring Carnival. But I think Prognosis, suited by a strong tempo, will just be a very, very good bet in this race, and I can see him winning and winning easily. My value bet, I'm going for the 3-year-old broadsiding. The more I've gone back to look at his run in the Caulfield Guineas, the more I'm taking positives away from it. He lost his ability to sprint coming around the turn in the Guineas, but once he straightened up and balanced, he was very, very strong through the line. Drawn out a little bit wide for Jamie Carr. I expect him to probably, the options are there if they want to try and come across with Pride of Jenny being immediately on the inside. Will give him probably a clear passage over across the field to set somewhat handy to the speed. But he's just looking like 2,000 metres will suit him ideally from what we've seen through his 2-year-old and early 3-year-old season. So he's my value bet for the race, but I'm pretty keen Prognosis to win the Cox Plate.
Right, I love it, mate. Great analysis there too. Ads, what are your thoughts, mate, on the big feature?
Yeah, I've got the exact same two as Shane, and I can't really add much more.
Wow.
He summarised it perfectly. Prognosis on top for mine, the former round Romantic Warrior. We're seeing these serious horses from Japan and racing in Hong Kong come across, and we know they're the world's best, and this is a serious animal. I've got the exact same thing as Shane. Only concern could be too far back with how slow he gets away, but I have full faith in Damien Lane. We've seen him ride these Japanese raiders and also go to Japan and form so well for them. So he'll get the best out of this horse. I'm with Shane. I think this horse can win quite nicely too, to be honest. I think if the real Prognosis shows up, it'll be not a comfortable win, but it'll be easy enough. My value bet is broadsiding. Again, like what Shane said there, I keep going back, and if you take the money out of it in the bet, and I didn't have any money on because it was too short, for mine, the broadsiding run was almost as good as a win. And if it had won, I wonder what people would have been saying going into this race. For mine, he's in the last 7 races, run the fastest last 200 metres, drops to the 49.5. We all know what I think of Jamie Carr. I think her booking is going to be just absolutely vital and critical for improvement of this horse as well. And I can see it flashing home late and running a very nice race. But Prognosis, best bet, and broadsiding the value bet, same as Shane.
Yeah, there you go. The boys are on the same page. That is huge. I'm actually sticking with Pride of Jenny, boys. I reckon the Valley, 2,000 metres. I was interested to hear Kieran Maher's little chat during the week, and he said that the horses felt the whole way along that been screaming out for the 2,000 metres. And then will the horse press on to a Melbourne Cup after Saturday's Cox Plate? Who knows? But I've just got the sneaky suspicion that I just reckon that Moonee Valley track, I was there when she won there a couple of weeks ago before the AFL Grand Final, and she hummed around there, and I reckon she's going to give a great sight once again, as long as she's backed up all right from that, pretty solid run up in Sydney and the travel and all that stuff last weekend. And I've got Mr. Brightside for the value legends because and what I like about it, track work, I don't know whether you saw it, but I think they got a little bit of a plan, the Hayes team, to go back. I reckon they want to go back to the inside. Did you see the track work? They actually, instead of just sidling up on the outside of a horse, actually cut back to the inside, took barrier 2, and I reckon they are going to try and just sit there somewhere in behind the speed and going to try and be hunting through, similar to last year. And at some stage, I reckon he might look the winner. Can he run that real strong 2,000 metres? Well, Cox Plate's the biggest test of all. Going to be a cracking race. I can't wait for it. It's going to be huge. Righto, Spring Champion Stakes, race 7 at round. We go to the 2,000 metres on Saturday. Open field, all thanks to Palmerbet. Swift Falcons, the favourite, 340. El Costello at $4, Headline at $4.80, Harlan Queen $6, Pleasure Artist at $12, Rag Queen at $16, Firm Agreement $17, and Devana at $18. A lot of these horses coming through obviously the same form races. Shano, I'll come back to you again, mate. What are your thoughts on the Champion Stakes?
Yeah, look, I don't know what to make of this race.
It's tough.
I'm going with the form. Yeah, look, it's just 3-year-olds, I just don't know how strong the lead up races have been, whether it be through, the Dulcify or the Gloaming Stakes or other. So I'm sticking with winning form, and I've gone with El Costello as my best in the race. I love the progression he's made all the way through this campaign for Anthony Cummings. He was able to win first up well, 1400 metres. He then went to the mile. Then he went to the 1800 metres, the gloaming. He settled on speed under Josh Parr and really kicked at the right time and held his rivals quite well. I know there was a flashing light on Swift Falcon, who finished the race off powerfully to finish runner-up and has really caught the eye of a lot of people and has been a good move in the market for. But I just like the winning form of El Costello, and there might still be a little bit more to come from him. So I'm siding with him in my best, but I'm not supremely confident that I've made the right decision here. My value bet in the race, I'm going for the filly Rag Queen, who also I thought ran quite well in the gloaming stakes around, she wasn't beaten too far behind El Costello. She was around Swift Falcon firm agreement. And I think her price just seems to be missed a little bit in the market. We're getting about $18 to $20 sort of mark for her, $16 to $20 for her. So I think she might be the value in the race, with Chad Schofield very much in form in the saddle. But I'm scratching my head a little bit here. Not a great deal of confidence. Sticking to winning form lines, I'll go with El Costello as the one to beat in the Spring Champion.
Ads, your thoughts, buddy?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the horse that Shane says, giving you the flashing lights, which is Swift Falcon. Really like this horse. Think he's going along nicely. He's won 3 of his last 4. His only defeat was in that gloaming. Look, tricky draw from barrier 11, but this horse gets back anyway, and they just went really quick in that gloaming. I don't expect them to do that in this race, so I think he won't have to do as much chasing, as much work, and just be cuddled up a little bit and then show that turn of foot late. And I think he does have the best turn of foot in this race. So Swift Falcon would be my best bet. I agree with what Shane said. For mine, there's only 2 horses in this race that are value, and that's Rag Queen and Pleasure Artist. And I had a feeling you guys might look at Rag Queen, so I've gone the other way here with Pleasure Artist, just more because I think this horse is a little bit raw and untapped. Brewing from last on debut, there was a really tough performance when winning second up, and I like that versatility that she showed. And then last time she came back with Swift Falcon in the run and was the second fastest home on that occasion, has had a little bit of time between runs. I just think she's a bit untapped. She's progressive, and I can see her also getting a nice trail into the race and showing that turn of foot. But Swift Falcon, the best bet, and Pleasure Artist will be the value bet.
Very similar to both of you boys. I've gone Swift Falcon. I thought 2000 Cherry Ripe, been really working through the line nicely. The victory 2 starts back was strong. Last run was good, and expect to go on with it. But I've had Rag Queen black booked for months, boys, and I don't know why. I haven't made any comments on it, so I don't know why I black booked the horse. Someone might have tipped it to me, but so for that reason, and I thought it was good. Exactly what you said, Shane. It was just as good as a Swift Falcon chasing El Costello last start. So at $16, why wouldn't you have a little play at that horse in a very, very open affair, the Champion Stakes? Righto, the invitation race 8 at Randwick over the 1400 metres. The Palmer Bet market, a Lentia at $3.80. Zugotcha at $3.90. Magic Time $3.90, Macarena at $10, Belclair $16, Royal Merchant $19, Coco Jambo or Jambu at $20, Roots at $21, and Arctic Glamour at $21. I'll come back to you, Ads. I'm really keen on one here, boys, but I'm keen to get your thoughts first, Ads.
Well, if Shane thought the last race was difficult, I thought this one was almost impossible. I sat here scratching my head for a while. I've ended up going with number 2, Magic Time, as my best bet. Loves Randwick, 5 starts here for 2 wins and 2/3. The only time it finished outside the money was in the TJ when it was only beaten a length on that occasion as well. And it's actually won 3 from 6 when going to Sydney. So definitely likes this way of racing. Was third in this race last year when was the favourite. I liked the return the other day at Flemington in the Gilgai. I just thought it showed that this horse was back and that would be performing nicely. She's won 2 from 4 when second up. She can carry weight. So for mine, she just did enough first up to suggest that maybe the class can rise to the top here. My value bet is Coco Jambu. Really liked the run last time in the Group 3. Goes well second up without winning. Was held up in that race, as I mentioned last time. And I think 20 to 1 are big overs. I think this horse has been missed. So I'll be going with Magic Time to win and Coco Jambu as the value bet for the invitation.
Shano, your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, I'm going back to the proven class mare in the race, and that is Zugotcha, who failed last start when over 1600 metres in the 7 stakes. Look, it was a flatly disappointing run on that occasion. She was beaten 4.5 lengths after settling on speed. She really gave nothing in the straight. Freshened up, soft trial since. You take out that run in the 7 stakes, all her form is outstanding, particularly over the last 12 months. She was very good when, first up in the Winx Stakes, narrowly touched off by Via Sistina. Go back to the Autumn Carnival. She won the Queen of the Turf. She won the Coolmore, both at Group 1s. She won a Millie Fox. She's just an exceptionally good mare. And if she's back to anywhere near her best with Joe Moreira in the saddle, I think Zugotcha can win it. So I'm happy to side with her. And I'm hoping she's back to her best because I like this mare a lot. Value bet Macarena. Forgive run last start. She was off a wide barrier. Nothing really went to plan, but she certainly wasn't disgracing the Alan Brown. I think she was beaten just on 3.5 lengths on that occasion behind Here to Shock. The run before, she was a good winner of the Golden Pendant. When able to settle on speed, and I think she's going to be in this race a long way. So I'm expecting a better run from Macarena at the price too. She does appeal off the inside barrier. I think Zach Lloyd will have her right in a very good spot all the way through the race. But Zugotcha, the one I'm most keen on. The best, Macarena, the value. I'm looking forward to the race, though. There's some really good mares in this.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the race, and I was really excited when I heard Shano that Adam McGrath had Magic Time on top because this horse just ticks a lot of boxes for mine. The second up stats, the stats at the track, the distance. Got a tricky gate barrier 11, but I reckon Nash will just slot across somewhere. And I reckon at some point he's going to look the winner if he can get in one off the fence somewhere. I reckon he's going to charge and look the winner at some point in time. Value bet. I've gone for a Victorian Raider here, roll on high, not even in the Palmer bet markets. But has been backed in. So into about $16 this horse. Roll on high. Has got a little bit of first up form, but I always like it when Peter Moody and Luke Nolan combine and when there's a little bit of money coming for the stable. It's one of those races. Horse obviously doing well enough if Moods and Catherine Coleman want to bring this horse up for a feature race up in Sydney. Righto, legends. What do we got for the rest of the country on Saturday? I'll start with you, Ads, the King of the West.
Yeah, well, we'll be going west, and we're just going to play 2 value bets here. So maybe 1x3 or 1x4, depending how you want to be betting. In race 4, number 2, Manavendra, it's about $15 and $3.50 for a place. This horse gets up to the distance now, will be ridden cold and will show a nice turn of foot. I think he can certainly feature in the top 3, and I think it can win the race. And then my other value bet, I was gutted when this horse drew wide. I actually tipped it a couple of weeks ago and it didn't run. It's about $10 and about $3.20 the place, but it's drawn 17, is Royal Toronado in race 6. Again, 1x3 or 1x4. This horse will be flashing home late. And if they can find a spot early, I think they can win the race as well. So 2 horses at $10 plus out there at Ascot in race 4 and race 6.
Little each way parley, all thanks to Palmer bet, Shado. That's good value, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. Adam's going quite well at the moment, so I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do. The only other one I'm keen on today, for this weekend, I should say, is Royal Champion stepping out in the Crystal Mile at the Valley, which is the race before the Cox Plate, race number 8 on Saturday. Look, a high-class international galloper. He's run really well in some big feature races all through Europe and when progressing over to Canada and the international there. Looked enormous in a Caulfield jump out back on the 25th of September, and then he ran at Flemington on the 5th of October. The rain hit that day, and I think it worked against him. But I'm expecting a big run from him at the mile. Mark Zara in the saddle for Anthony and Sam Friedman. I'm very, very happy with his price at around that sort of $5 mark. I think he's a very strong bet in this race, particularly at the each way. Royal Champion in the Crystal Mile.
I'm actually going against you, Shano, in the Crystal Mile. And, Simon Wild, he's chasing the elusive Group 1. This is only a Group 2, but I reckon this horse is going to get him his first ever Group 1, and it's a horse called Plenty of Ammo. I saw this horse trial at Ararat. It was enormous. Then come out and ran super first up, scratched on the unfavourable wet track a couple of weeks ago. Saw some track work between races at Warrnambool on Monday, and I reckon this horse is absolutely going well. Undefeated at the 1,600 metres, 2 from 2. I reckon Cherry Ripe, barrier 4. With any luck, I reckon this horse is going to take some beating on the weekend. And I'm going to go back to race 3. There's a really smart one I seen win a couple of weeks ago. Certain Rise from the Moroni stable. Won by a big margin, only $3.30, so you're not getting a hell of a lot of price. And then I'm going to head up to Randwick, just chuck one in there in the Diamonds Prelude. It's a good horse, this horse. Race 9, number 7, Yellow Brick, coming off a nice win last start. And at about $3.70, $3.80, I reckon will be a nice little play as well. It's a tough weekend on the punt. Virtually the next few weeks are, to be honest. We've got Derby Day next weekend. Then we head into Melbourne Cup, Oaks Day, and then Champions Day. So it doesn't get much easier, boys, does it?
No, it never does it this time of year.
Hey,
pressure's on. I've got to say, Matty, just quickly, I've had a disastrous last 2 weeks. I'm hoping to bounce back this weekend. Otherwise, I'm really going to be pulling my hair out come Cup week.
We might be singing for our supper. What are we going to do in the Palmer Bet Punters Club this week? And get your Punters Club happening too with your mates at Palmer Bet. A whole lot of fun to be had. Download that Palmer Bet app and get involved. What are your thoughts, boys? What do you want to do?
Well, I don't know. Shane and I are pretty keen on the Japanese runner. I'd be happy to feature him in the Cox Plate.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
You're pretty keen by a big margin. So let's just go straight out, couple of 100 units on to get the job done. The Japanese raider, hey?
Pressure's on. All right, let's go for the pride of Japan.
Right, and then we might get to Vegas, Shano. So that's our goal, mate. As I said, download that Palmer Bet app. Always gamble responsibly and think about what you're really gambling with. Have a great weekend, guys. Great to see you as always. Tipping plenty of winners. It's been a fantastic spring carnival thus far, and look forward to this weekend's racing and look forward to catching up next week.
Go Japan.
See you guys.
Well done, boys.
Thanks, boys.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.